It's still February 7th
Okay.
and
Let's see
the
it.
8th. I screwed it up the first time too, didn't I? And it's still 2015. I'm still here with the professor, and we left you last. We've been talking while the camera was getting worked on about the state of things, and I want to say something right up front. As I said before, I have to generalize about what I think are problems with, well, not problems even, it's challenges about martial arts and philosophy and getting them, how come they don't self-generate and move beyond the dojo? But it occurs to me, and I need to say this, it might just be my problem. It's completely possible that martial arts are doing just dandy and that there are a bazillion dojos. I've got my friend Grandmaster Chris Sproul. His dojo's fine. He doesn't have my issues, and I know that. And sometimes when I'm talking, I forget these things because he's a charismatic character with and he has the real thing. That guy, his knowledge is far out, man, and his people eat it up, and he presents it in a very digestible manner, and they love doing it. When he comes to one of our camp budos and so forth, he'll bring a whole slew of people because they're all truly curious on. And I wish I knew how he did it because I don't have that magic. But so that said, there are judo dojos that have plenty of people in them. I want to acknowledge the idea that when I generalize like that, it may well be just me. That I just don't have some formula. And sometimes I might be arrogant in that I imply that people on the whole aren't tough enough to stick with me in a dojo. It may be that my methods or the way the atmosphere I create is not fun or pleasant to be in. So why would anyone go there? I acknowledge that. It's completely possible. However, again, that said, I have a faith, and I'm strong in the belief that the philosophy I've had, that I've learned and seen, is not wrong, mistaken, or I know I'm on a big thing right now of I've always enjoyed telling the truth and seeing the truth, and I'm really concentrating right now, and this is a me thing. This is since I got the professor here, I figure I'd throw it in. I'm trying to strip away the senses, and it's real difficult to throw out perceptions and frustrations and all these things. I want to see you really can't say you want to see yourself. It's becoming more and more obvious that is a misleading pursuit. I want to see just basic truth itself. And a good focus is something like the martial arts. There's a lot of ways to mislead yourself looking for the truth about yourself and things, martial arts. But I just need to deal with this end first before I.
If you recognize the truth within yourself and you regurgitate the philosophy that you've already got, the same thing is going to happen to you that happened to me. We go to any type of mixed martial arts seminar, any one of them, where there's 3 or even 4 classes or mats going on at the same time. Who gets the most audience?
Yeah, our traveling shows always attracted big crowds.
They always attract the most crowd because I'm not teaching power. I'm teaching something that they can all do. they can enjoy doing. And they don't have to beat each other up to do it. And that's, yeah, we're part of the circle. But we're a good part of it. We're a part of the circle that I'm happy to be part of. I wouldn't like to be part of the circle for the JBDF or the UFC or any of that, because their philosophy is it's not wrong. It's their philosophy.
Well, it makes money and it's fun to watch, and I love the things they do. I mean, I don't mean to pass judgment on them either. I mean, I'm going to go to the sports bar and watch with my friends. I do it all the time. You know, they got a valuable thing.
But it's a spectator sport.
Yeah, exactly.
And judo is not a spectator sport. Judo is a participation.
It's to go do it.
Right.
Yeah. It's like in my understandings about, I've been doing a lot of reading because I used to like make a joke that to people. I would say that my dad accuses me of being a Buddhist. And I never knew, for a lot of years, I didn't know what you meant by that. You would tell people in group.
Yeah.
And it was fine, and they would ask me all about it. I said, I have no idea. They would ask me about, well, what's Buddhism, this and that? I said, I don't know. Because I didn't know what you meant. So I said, well, he keeps saying this, so I'll do some reading. And I have, and I've met through books some really interesting people, and they say some stuff that you've said all along. And it's interesting. It's like, oh yeah, I've been here before. My dad's never written a book in his life, and yet here I am, and I can almost see the next paragraph for me as I read along. And I've discovered some things like meditation. Now I've taken some advice on how to do correctly and said, correctly. I found out that I've been doing all along, there's a form of, like in drawing, when I draw a picture, for instance, I'll give this for you. My pictures are often overdrawn, too much finishing. That's because I like just making the marks. To me, it's not the image that happens that matters at all. I'll make an image, I'll lay an image out.
Yeah, but your
It's doing that makes.
Your goal isn't the finish.
Right, like the car, when I did the car. The car was, I laid out some master images, because I wanted the person to have a good picture to look at on their car while they're driving around. But afterwards, it's dots. It's the making of the dots with no start and no end. At some point, I have to say, this is it. This is all I'm going to do, so they can have their car back or their motorcycle, whatever. But it's just doing the dots. Tens of thousands of them, I know by the time I'm done. It's just doing those where I'll be doing them, and the next time I look up, minutes later, it's 2.5 hours later.
Yeah.
And uchikomi in judo, or moving with the boken. I like to do those, move with the boken until it's like saying the same word over and over again in your head. I tell my students this. I say, you need to do your motion when you're working in the martial arts. I give you a little something to do. Your taekwondo, your favorite technique. You need to do it over and over again until it's meaningless.
Are you guys filming?
Yeah.
Did
Oh, she ran out. That Katie had go to.
Did what? Jeff and Archer leave? Yeah.
Anyway, I tell them, I say, take your boken, and you need to do, like, when you say that word over and over again, it actually loses its meaning and its sound. You might even forget how to say it with your mouth. I mean, you've said it so much, thousands of times. Make that movement with your boken the same way, so that you're moving so much, it leaves the mentality, and then eventually you're actually over analyzing what you're doing to the point where it becomes so literal that you almost forget how to move your hand, and you have to make yourself forget what you're doing and just keep going. That in meditation has its place.
That's, in my case, I make the hand motions. And I do it all the time. I'm not developing strength in my hands,
Right.
I'm developing a form. Because when I turn my hand over, I don't rack it, curve it. It becomes natural. Becomes natural to the point when I have a blow or something coming in, I don't block it, I control it. That's why people go off balance when I do quote block the movement.
I like just doing it. I didn't, I like,
And I loved, like you're trying to say, I loved not being able to complete it. I loved learning it.
yeah, the repetition, just doing it over and over again, that's the thing. It didn't even have to have a purpose. Pretty soon it's not even, to say martial art, the martial part, and even the art, neither word applies after a while. It's just movement, and it's just nice to do. And to get the movement proper, you have to know the purpose of the original intent is to move a weapon so that it cuts and it's clean, and you only use those muscles that you need to move in that direction. But also culture the movement for the return, like the wave comes in and it goes back out. And those things shape the movement, but then you do it so many thousands of times, even that disappears. And that's what I like. And I try to get the students to do that, but that can be quite boring. And it can be translated into hard work and frustration, because to move the weapon smooth and to have proper, it's a challenge. If you don't have that muscle memory, it's hard to earn that.
Learn to segment it.
I teach it in leaps and jerks, a little this movement and then that one. It's, I guess, I would really have to talk to the people and see why they don't show up again.
Segmenting. I do this. It's a pull and a turn. Pull and a turn. But if I teach and have them practice each portion of it until finally they're no longer thinking about the fingers or the wrist movement.
Right.
They're doing
Therein lies the problem, Dan. I've just explained that. Why do folks not come the fourth night? It's very few. Like I say, I have a few people that.
You'll find your niche. You'll find your goal, and you'll reach it. You've already reached a whole lot more than even I could have hoped for.
Well, I feel good about. I have no puzzles for myself that I don't enjoy. I feel like I go the distance. I get a lot out of movement and the things we've shared over the years, because that's why I did it. I wanted to hang out with you. But I guess the next puzzle is, when I've been taught not to pursue hard these things, how do you pursue without being hard to get people to convey that to them? It's not easy, because I've been taught not to chase and grab. Well,
But you have to quit selling yourself. And sell the subject. You're at a transition right at the moment. The transition is, for example, I can snap my boken down to the ground before you can do it.
Yeah, that's one of the demonstration things, yeah.
Yeah, but that isn't selling the art,
No, it's just a neat trick.
selling you, because you can get down there that quick. But if the guy that you're teaching practiced enough, he could do it.
Oh yeah, I can show them how. Just so the folks who are watching understand, what I do is I take a boken and I start with my boken tip on the floor, and they hold theirs at shoulder level. And the challenge is this: I tell them that I can bring the boken up, circle around their weapon, above their weapon, and back down to the floor before they can take their weapon simply from shoulder level and touch the ground. I can go up and down. And I've had one person over the years come close to tying me, and that was it. The rest have never come anywhere near. And then we might have some fun with the class, and I show them how to get their weapon down there, but I can't, it takes a while to get them to raise the weapon and come down with that same.
I used to watch Nagel do his trick with the dime.
Yeah.
And
You gotta sit back and do it.
Hmm?
'Cause you're too close to the camera.
I'm sorry.
Well, he can,
Just gotta turn to
his
it.
mouth is.
It was amazing to me that he could stand and not bend over, standing.
Don Nagel we're talking
Put
about.
his hand out like this, and drop his hand, slap his knee, slap the back of his neck, and catch the dime.
From standing?
Yeah.
So he could stand up and have a dime on the back of his hand like this.
Right.
I remember that. He could leave that dime by dropping his hand,
Bang,
touch,
bang,
and catch the dime before it even made it to his knee, actually. So I've never got to see it because he wasn't doing that anymore, but I've heard other eyewitnesses who saw that. And the dime, he wasn't chasing it down to his
No.
foot. He didn't bend his back. He would get it like that. He would drop and catch the dime like that. And that's how it was explained to me. That's how someone showed me.
And he did it repeatedly, night after night, without missing.
That's far out, isn't it? Now that you have, there had to be a lot of misses going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when he was
There had to be a lot where he didn't get it, and yet, and nobody else did that. See that's a wonderful point about that time and period on back throughout the ages when you guys did. The thing that I like is that you guys were at the old dojo in 56 through 58 and 9. They didn't have halls of fame. They didn't have
trophies.
They didn't have trophy night. They didn't have banquets. They didn't. I saw what.
We didn't even have certificates.
Right, exactly. People did the arts only to do them. They didn't do. There was no recognition to hope for or to strive for, so they weren't doing it for that. They were never going to get recognized except in a tournament, which was good, but even that falls through the years away. I like that.
We never had tests
Yeah.
of any kind.
Yeah, I just like that. I saw it in the book though. Your contemporaries, you didn't happen to be there. It's the book you recently had. There's a picture of all your friends were at their version of getting together was after a big tournament. They would be having sake and dinner.
Kampai.
And they all in casual clothes, but that was their after the tournament. Obviously, we're going to get over at so and so's house. And that's what you would do.
We used to do it right on the mat.
Yeah. We've done that. Yeah, we did that. I remember we had at right here in Raleigh. We did that the one night. That was wonderful. We threw a party. It was a party, and so some people heard it as a party, and some people showed up. So we had folks standing around drinking wine or having a mixed drink in dress clothing, right? Standing around having conversations in pockets, and around them were people randori in there, and they were going at it. And folks they'd be talking about all kinds of things, and they would turn and they would watch the randori happen for a while, and it would move on by them, and they would continue talking. It was strange. It was a really cool party. The drinks were over there. You went and got one, and the really cool thing was at the end of the night. This is at the Raleigh Martial Arts Center. Eventually, even in their dress clothes and in their gis, everyone ended up sitting on the mat with a drink or whatever, talking. They'd have their gi would be loosened up and talking.
And turning
And the lights were all half out and we're all talking.
turning and pouring for the other guy.
Mm-hmm. That was just, that's how things. And when my mom died, the days after, our family's a little different in this way. The practice of mourning somebody's passing, we try to complete a lot. We cover a lot of ground in the weekend following someone's passing, and Mom was no exception. But you start off sad and you share but you don't do that the entire weekend. You don't stand around all Saturday. That Saturday and Sunday, both nights we got together. And I owned at the time 7 gis, and Dad owned many gis, and my brother had 7 or 8 himself. Anyway, we get family members who don't even play judo or jiu-jitsu. And we had a full mat of relatives and nieces and nephews and everyone. We would give them all a gi to wear. And we were all, Mom's funeral was 2 nights of randori and wrestling on the mat and getting sweaty 3-4 hours a night. And we would spend the day at the house talking and remembering Mom, looking at ceramics and all this stuff. But that was her dojo. And so she was there in that, all the decorations and everything. She ran that dojo from her home, very rarely going to the dojo, but it was her dojo. Her stripe was the first one in line, and then Dad's, and then I would be 3rd or 4th down line. And then there was Sensei Dan. But her paddle, even though she was a 2nd degree in jiu-jitsu, her paddle was number 1 because she was the dojo master. And those nights while we were randoring, her paddle was still there. And Sensei Dan kept it there for quite some time after she died. But that's the kind of thing I think that those little subtle differences, philosophy-wise, we've said the word philosophy a lot, but those are interesting differences in our family and our friends. Anyway, I think that would be let's finish up and say something to folks before we turn it off. To them, it's going to turn on again in another second.
Okay. I enjoy the discussions like this. In fact, since I'm physically not capable of doing certain things, I would like to present a comfortable philosophy class at Camp Udo, where everybody there is there for a reason, but they all intertwine, or they wouldn't be there at all. Let them learn how to express it to themselves. because many of them don't know why they're there.
They think they do sometimes, I think. Yeah. It's more that than the physical, and yet I really like the physical. There's nothing like wearing the body down in pure sweat and using up all the water and resources you have to where you really are just flat toasted at the end of the day. That sets stuff in the mind.
At Matsumoto's, you'd finish you'd finish the workout, and you go over to a bar, or you go somewhere where they have a doorknob, and we would be so beat we couldn't get our hand up on the doorknob. We had to go like this.
I've had those days. That's hilarious. I love that. It's so funny. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's another few hours in the books here, and it was a good one.